Welcome, I'm Bill Wake. We're working on a financial planning app looking at money in the medium and long term. And one of the things we've done recently is added the ability to devise, well, I call them assumptions, but they're kind of like variables that let you set different rates and then reference them. So it could be an inflation rate or an interest rate or a return on investment, whatever kind of rates you want. Okay, what we did so far was we got them hooked up. We have something that looks plausible as a curve, and we checked and we tried updating the rates, but it only updates at the end. It doesn't update along the way. I'd really love that real-time update if we can get it. Wow, like why is my escape key not working? This happened yesterday. What did I do? Okay, that's one way out. I wonder if my keyboard's going. I did charge it. Okay, let's see. The other thing is we did some persistence stuff last week, and I checked with my user, and my user has updated, so we can make changes on this side as well. Maybe what we'll do is we'll validate first, then we'll do the persistence, then we'll do the real-time slider thing. Okay, so the validate, let's see. So we have this curve that's like the payback curve on some ROI, 4% ROI, but this is $1,000 at 4% for 30 years. Seems low to me. What I thought we would do, and I don't remember where it is. Maybe it's possibilities. Okay, come on. Somewhere we define a constant that tells how many months we're working on. Maybe it's the app. No. We know it's 360 now. Content view. Okay, that's pretty near the top. Let's make this 13. And set this ROI to 10% so I can do the math. Okay. And notice that it does update, so it's updating, it's just not real-time updating. All right, let's run it again. And if it's doing the right thing, at the end of 13 months, it should be at $1,100, 1,000 plus 12 updates. Gives us month 13 and 1 year's worth of increase. Oh, 2034. Wait a minute. Huh. Whoops. Don't do that. Okay, let's call it savings. It's going to be an asset. $1,000. Well, okay. Why didn't that work? Let me save this. Okay, that's kind of right. You got $1,000, your asset, then you got $1,000 forever. Okay, as long as you don't spend it. Oh, we gotta tie it to the ROI. All right, ROI. And that should be 10% still because we saved it. Good. All right. Now, I don't know if $1,000 invested at 10% a year is going to become $15,000 in 30 years. It doesn't sound impossible, but I'm not so sure it's right. So let's modify this. Let's make it start January 2025 and end January 2026. Okay, we can do that ourselves. Now that's become very annoying. The screen is just big enough to make that not comfortable. Now what does relative say? Oh, it does need the room. Okay. We'll update. All right. It strikes me as weird. Like, why isn't this number at 1,000? Oh, yeah. Why isn't that number at 1,000? Huh. Well. All right. Let me make it 2030 just to make sure we're kind of where we can see it. Okay, that is clearly not what we expected. It looks like it's going to... Well, no, it's completely off. It's $1,000 a month. I mean, it's $1,000. We should be seeing a line that starts at 1,000 and goes up to 1,100 with a slight curve to it. So that part's okay. But where'd the extra $500, $600 come from? Okay, let me look. 2030, 2031, $1,000. Okay. Oh. I don't think we've dealt with months start dates. Right. I think what's happening, I think it's computing the interest from here, but it doesn't actually claim it until 2030. And so it's accumulated. It started at 1,000 in August 2024 and worked its way up to 16 or 1,700. All right, let's change these dates. I guess I know it's starting in August because that's today. Okay, let's try that. Okay, that's more like it. All right, that looks believable. Okay, and if you had it for 2 years, well, if you go from 1,100 plus 10%, that's 110. So you got 1,210. All right, let's change this to August 2026. Update. Okay. Yeah, that would be 1,250 is half. Okay. Yeah, it starts from today. All right. So that's poor on my part. Make rates use right start date when dates are set. Okay. I think the right answer crossed my mind at some point yesterday, but I didn't do it at that moment, and now we pay. Let me see, where is that? Is it Leia where it calculates? Yeah, Leia tells it the start. Now it knows the start of the range, and that's what it's putting in there, but it really should compute that based on the Leia. if there is if the start date is not unchanged, we need to use the start date. Okay, so I don't think it'll be hard to fix, but I missed it. Okay, let's see. So here. Okay, so in the case where you match the start month, it's fine, at least for 2 years. So that's pretty plausible. All right. Next. All right. Let's go to these persistence things. I find them easy to forget or not think about properly. Okay, delete Plan.pool. Plan.pool. Okay, yeah, we should be able to get rid of these two. Somebody should complain. Oh, there it is. At least somewhere. Okay, now the update goes away. Well, I don't know if I should just null it out for now. Let's do that. All right, and then remove. What do we call it? Actually do the update. We changed the Leia and the type. Okay. Okay, that was there. Yeah, no, I think one of the things I'm coming to realize with these sum types, it's kind of like not so bad if you're in the class and you have to switch on one of those types. Would an asset be ejected at a specific date? We have that amount until we spend it. Well, no, it depends on the asset. Sorry, I'm slow on these. The asset is, well, in effect, it's not included after its end date. Most assets you're going to have, right? You're going to have them. I mean, once you acquire it, you're going to have it for a length of time, and often, like it's your savings account or something, it's going to be, it's just going to be sitting there growing, except that you probably will make withdrawals from it at some point. We don't have the notion of I'm withdrawing from my savings account versus from my total assets. Right now, everything is total assets. So, if you specify no end date, it just runs along forever, picking up whatever interest or whatever growth you said it had. So, my 401k, I could put a growth rate. That's a retirement account. So, it's going to grow. But, at some point we have to say, where is it being spent? And it's going to be spent by some separate expense account, but it's a future story as to whether or not we'll tie those together. I'd like to in some ways, but because there's sort of there's a style where you say, if I have this expense, I need to figure out how I'm going to fund it. And this is I guess I would call it advanced planning. I mean, it's not impossible to do or anything, but like if you're, well, a typical one might be you've got 2 kids going to college and you want to get a new car and you want to do this and you want to take a vacation and you've got to figure out, like, how am I going to pay for all this? And you need to project forward and decide, okay, 5 years from now when child one enters college, can I pay their tuition or whatever I'm going to do? And you might designate some portion of an income stream or a fund to support that. And then you want to know if something gets oversubscribed. So if my 401k is supporting, is tied to my income or my expense stream, I've got an inflation rate on the expenses and a growth rate on the 401k. And at some point, maybe my 401k is going to run out of money. Okay. I mean, hopefully I live long enough and that's a long time out. But, at some point these two might cross, and you really want to know that, I don't, where's this money coming from if I don't have it in my bank account? Yeah, there's sort of withdrawal. I mean, I don't know if, I think it should be a separate kind of stream or something. Okay. So another example, well, I have a friend who has rental property, and so they designate a portion of the income from that rental property to pay off the rental, and it's very much tied one to the other. They don't think of it generically, they think of it as it's got a stream that's going to pay off some portion of it, and then another stream that's income to them as the rental property. So I don't think it's just a withdrawal, it's really a withdrawal to a specific kind of thing. And you could imagine, in 10 years, the rental property is paid for, and I'm going to divert that stream to some other, I don't know, buy another home or whatever the right thing is, but it's potentially very independent. And I don't manage my money this way per se. I mean, I have things and I think, well, this can support that, but I don't have big expenses and go like, oh, I should, designate this flow to do that. But that's me. I'm not sophisticated enough at this point. Partly I don't have the tools to do it, and it's kind of a pain to do it by hand. And, well, for whatever reasons. I mean, I know the tools are out there too. I mean, obviously this whole thing is kind of replicating tools you get from various, 401k vendors and others. All right. Somebody else may be using this type. Let's do a build and make sure. Anybody else looking for pool or stream? Yep. Okay, so no more pool or stream. Okay. But yeah, withdrawal might not be the worst, but I don't know how you coordinate. How you coordinate them all. Update turns stream into Leia. Okay, well, update is no more. It's just a stub of itself. All right, update. Cool. Okay. Oh, we didn't look at that one, the plans. Updates children. Okay. Yeah, I'm just debating, would the withdrawal make sense, like as an intermediate step? And, I don't know if you've ever seen these diagrams, like they do them for the economy sometimes, here's all the income for the government, it takes income taxes and, I don't know, what do you call them? The tariffs and payroll taxes and so on. And then on the outgoing side, this much for defense, this much for interest on the debt, this much for Social Security or whatever. that kind of view would be interesting to me. And you could make some things that, if the rental property is funding, it's funding the rental property and it's funding, income to you. Like you could kind of make a diagram that showed that kind of more closely aligned the ones that are associated together. It'd be an interesting kind of flow. All right, good. Tests are running. We'll check that in. So remove update, remove use of pool and stream, no longer used. Okay. And we'll do a run and make sure our one asset looks plausible. Okay, once users update, delete Plan.pool and stream. Okay. Leave that up here. Yeah. Okay, so we did this one. And he's still there. Okay, good. Have a stream that transfers some amount from the asset to the stream. Yeah, that would exactly be what I want. Because you can turn an asset into a stream by withdrawing from it periodically, and you can turn a stream into an asset by accumulating it. Right now our income accumulates, but we don't say where it's going. It probably should feed into, how do I manage myself? The way I do it, and I don't know if other people do different. I know other people do it differently, but what I do is income comes in and goes to my savings, and then I take a flat rate out every month that's independent of how much income I made. That's one of my ways of dealing with variance in income and controlling expenses. That I just have this kind of standard amount. And then at some point I might look at savings, go like, oh, that's a lot of savings, and, do something with it. But there definitely is, it doesn't just accumulate, it accumulates into an account somewhere, right? It's just like your paycheck, you put it in your bank and that's the way it is. Hopefully you're not spending it all. All right. Delete Leia.first and last. Okay. That's a good one. Since we knew for a while that it really should be a date range. Okay, Leia. Okay, first and last, we're not going to look at anymore. And we don't need these anymore. And we arranged that this would always be there now. And so that's good. Dates now is just dates. Okay. And I'm gonna do tricky and rename this. It should just be date range, but that's not quite what I meant to do. I'm trying to get rid of it, so it doesn't matter what's in here. Okay, I want to rename this to dates with no underscore. Okay, and then I can remove this, put this back, and hopefully things work. Well, not everything will. Oh yeah, those two are gone. Okay, and then it's not clear to me if this should really be public to set. Let's just try it and see if anybody's using it that way. Okay, good. So we'll commit that. Okay. We'll run it again. Again, just kind of checking to nothing got weird. I don't expect problems on this, but it could happen. All right, now growth is not yet required. Or is it? Did we fit that in? I don't think we did. Maybe we did. Let's see. That was on plan. Is there a show history or something? I don't know. I had any stash changes. Okay. Reason. I don't know if I can show history on here. Excuse me. Let's go over to GitHub. I guess the update change was 9 days ago, something like that. 12th. And nine is the 12th. I don't know. This looks more like it. Yeah, I'm thinking maybe growth wasn't in there. We did this. Growth is set. Okay, well that was the change we did. Okay, so maybe that one's okay too. Growth was added later. Okay, yeah. We'll play it safe. I mean, what I would like to do is remove the the question mark on growth over here. But I don't want to do that until we've guaranteed that there's a string there. And I think you're right. We probably added that later. I mean, we just got these assumptions in a few days ago. All right. Well, that'll be a future refactoring opportunity. Well, let's see. So delete Leia.first and last. Oh, we did say that. I'm gonna think you're right, and we won't do that now. Okay. I would say these two changes are that's sort of the next round. Growth non-nullable. Okay. So these would be some more updates we could do as refactoring. All right, but I want to capture those. Just the to-do. Okay, good. All right. Okay, next biggest problem. Well, we got the slider and we got the start date thing. I think the start date thing is very, unintuitive. It's a nice way to say wrong. Okay, so if you're going to acquire an asset next year, then any growth on that asset should only happen once it's acquired. So the current way where it just starts growing on day one is just not right. All right, and as I said, I think that's on Leia. So Leia's deciding the start month. I don't know who's the caller of this. Amount, net worth. Oh yeah, okay. Well, the range bound coming in, yeah, I think we need to know that, but we should override it based on the start date. Okay, which I think we can. I think we do kind of already. Right. If dates includes month, return 0. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's design a test for this. Leia starts growing after it's only, I don't want to say this. It starts growing only when it becomes active. Okay, and let's, again, it's going to be kind of similar. Okay, so let's make a new date range. Yeah, I think we can do the same kind of thing, but this is now date range dot init. Oh, date range of, let's do 2021.jan to oh, it needs date specs. Ugh. I don't know, am I making that too hard? Dot month. Okay. So, okay, so this thing, inflation 100%, 50%. The starting date is January. Okay. And if we look at I guess I want to look in January, and it should just be itself. Okay. So if I start at 2020 January and I look in 2021 January, I expect that to be 1,000 because it hasn't had a chance to accumulate any interest. But if I go on, it's 50% interest, so 50 in 2022 January. Okay. Growth added the coding keys Thursday last week. Okay, thank you. I don't know if I got that in before the build I gave him or not. We'll play it safe. Yeah, I don't think we necessarily had that in there. Okay, if I look, yeah, so in 2021.jan, I want 1,000. A year later, if it's 50% annual, it should be 1,500. Okay, this test will fail. I'm pretty sure. Hopefully for the right reason. Okay, and we're guessing he's going to be too big. Yeah, so he's a year later. He's already applied a year's interest, even though it wasn't actually starting yet. And then this one, again, it's applied it for an extra year. Okay. Good. That'll be something to fix. Okay, so I think the start coming in is it's the true start date. I mean, it's the start date of the calculations, and that's legit. Why it's nulled, I think we probably should get rid of that, but this should not be. Okay, so let's let well, what do we ask? Date range is based on date specifiers. Includes Well, I think we actually have to look at the first. But isn't there like an effective date? I guess we gotta look at date specifier. Like somebody has to calculate the person stuff. Description looks at it. Update. I'm not sure this is legit. Nobody knows. Yeah, if it's unspecified, use that. Yeah, I think that's probably all we need to say, isn't it? Okay, so let effective start equals start. Let's start there. Okay, so if dates equals unspecified, use start, else use dates.first. Oh, come on. Date range and discovery. Month, year. Oh, start is a month, year. If it's in a scenario, is the start date for the scenario? Well, scenarios don't have start dates per se, but the things they contain do. This is dates. What is dates? Oh, dates.first is unspecified. Use start. Task priority. Is that not right? Unchanged. Effective, if dates.first is a date specifier. But this is not a month, year. And it doesn't look like you get it. Right. So if dates includes, if route arranged to money 0, but the effective start. Yeah, isn't that weird? We never actually ask for this. Yeah, unchanged is a bad name at this point. But that's, well, that would affect saved stuff. So, Okay. So yeah, I think this is funny. I don't think it would be wrong to ask for it as a start month, which would give us this. But it's kind of funny. We could certainly use this computation in this. Okay. But we don't have it. So I don't know. Am I going to stack it or am I just going to do it? In a way, I think it's an extract method off this, but it's complicated. And this unspecified, wow. Yeah, the error lays because we try to use unspecified. Well, it's almost that we don't. Well, the thing is, unspecified should really act like what we treat as the starting date, and that's in Fiume, I think. We do date.now or something like that. Yeah, month year dot date. Okay, so it's in the app, and this is the only place that knows it. And it kind of raises a question. It should say unchanged. Yeah, I agree. Oh. Wait, I'm not sure I agree. There is no unspecified. Oh, I see what you're saying. This is totally wrong. Yeah, okay. It still won't compile, but it'll be a better reason. Okay. Right. Because we can't get a date.first. Okay. Okay, I'm getting balled up. So I think let's kind of stack this. Start. That's kind of what it was before. We just effectively extracted a variable, and this test fails. And what is it, like dot ignored? Ignored. Is that right? I should just print this cheat sheet and keep it by me. Hopefully it's got the right thing once in a while. Ignore test disabled. Okay, so I'm going to do this the quote proper way. I'm going to turn off this test briefly while I go calculate effective date on date specifier, effective start. Because effective start and effective end are treated differently, unfortunately, but they are. Okay, so date specifier, let's go find this test. Okay, so Well, this is a hard one. Let's take date specifier dot unchanged dot effective start equals, well, it's really got to equal that thing in the Fiume app. Okay, so that thing is, well, it's there. It's, you know, it's an official start. I'm going to put this on month year. I think. So what I'm proposing to do is put a month year dot start initialized to date, and anybody can reference that and they can know when the app started. I could see an argument to say I'd really like to calculate things, you know, based on starting in 5 years or starting 2 years ago or something, and make it variable. Or, well, even more to the point, last month when I ran this, it looks different than this month, even though I didn't change anything because the start date changed. Like, yeah, that's a legit thing. Okay, but we got to go somewhere. All right, so let's go here. I'm going to do a static. Let start equal whatever we just said. That thing. Okay. And he's got to be public. Sorry. Okay. Fiume app can use it. The bad thing is I'm pushing a variable, an environment variable down into my month year class. But we'll take it. Okay, so now my test, wherever that got off to, what should it equal? Well, it should equal month year dot start. Okay, this test will fail. Well, it doesn't even compile. Let's get a function, public var effective start is a month year. Did I say that right? Yeah. Okay. Now this should fail pretty clearly. It's going to say 2020 January instead of today. But yeah, so you can see the side effect, right? If I did this, if I ran this test on the last second of August 31st this year, and by the time it got to the assertion, it was now September. Well, no, I don't think that's going to matter. I guess if I ran it in September, I'd get a different value here, but if I do it right, it'll be month.start. Okay. Okay. So where's date spec? All right, so instead, let's return month year dot start. Okay, now if we do month of 2020, well, 2099 equals okay, so if you specify an exact month of the start, we should just use the month you gave us. That seems pretty straightforward. Now I'm distinguishing effective start and effective end because they get treated a little differently. Unchanged, it'll have to return the start date here, and the end date should be never. I don't think that comes up, but it is different, so that's why I break out start. Okay. Let's go here. All right, let's make this a switch. Self of case dot unchanged. Okay, just arbitrary. This should pass. Yeah, now we're going to have that coupling. We have to do this kind of stuff. Okay, we make a person, we add the person. Well, we have to. Okay, he's always born in 1970. So we expect date specifier dot age of person dot UUID dot ID and 50 should be 2020. Okay, they're born in 1970. Dot effective start. Okay. Never is what they're. Well, yeah, that's it. It's kind of undefined, and we don't really ever ask it, right? Because we just take a range, we look at that range, but just because, well, probably should start by being somebody younger than me, but let's take my son, who presumably has an easy 30 years to go. Just because he's got this asset and we're only looking 30 years out doesn't mean the asset goes away at the day after the 30th year. Okay, did I run the test? So yeah, it doesn't make sense to say what that never really is, or that unbounded kind of value. They're almost different. Okay. Yeah, we get 1950. Good. But the computation is this stuff. Okay, so this is ID and age. Okay, and I think we try and find the person, else return yeah, we can't return false. I guess we'll return month year dot start. Cannot find people in scope. Oh man. Oh, it's that same problem. I'm going to solve it the same way. I'm going to try and make this okay, and then our app has to use it. Just like we did here. Okay. Okay. I think this is correct. Yeah, that 360, it may not be right. For every situation, if you're 60 and you look out 30 years, you're looking at 90. That's getting to be pretty far out to worry about some of the stuff. I think the kind of the middle of your retirement, you care more about which one's higher and this and that, because that's the more likely, you're more likely to need the information at 75 or 80 than you are at 90, because more people, you can only die, you can't grow, get new. So I definitely could see like 20 years being a better a better thing at some point. Because when I looked at our graph, well, it's not bad. When I had the graph with all the multiple scenarios, I had 9 scenarios and all the interesting stuff happened in the middle. And it would be interesting to draw that line at 20 years, say, and see what was distinct about these things. Now, in the long run, it looked like 2 things converged, and that's what didn't matter. Okay, if there's no persistence to the value be start or end. Yeah, good question. And our test does not answer that either, does it? Let's get our test passing, and then we'll deal with that test case. You're right. That's a poor choice. Okay, what's the problem? August 2024. Oh, did I update my case statement? Yes. Not clear if it ran right. Well, it ran. Okay. August 2024. Person.id. I assume MakePerson has to create one. Yeah, it defaults creation. Okay, I'm gonna say let's debug it. Yeah, I don't think that'll happen much. Effect start for age. Okay, but that's the one we want. Okay, so step. Turn month year dot start. Oh, we didn't add the person to the people in our test, did we? Our test has a different set of people. That's the problem. Okay. Right. So well, maybe we can give ourselves like a Y10K problem. I guess we don't need any of this. We'll just make a UUID, and I'm tempted to just do this. I don't know if that's a good. Or should I just do greater than? Let's do this, 2200 dot January. Okay, so if I look up an unknown person, I'm guaranteed a date that's at least 100 years out. And this does not happen now. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to return a very late date. I'm creating a Y10K problem, right? The code will break in the year 10,000. The test will break, in the year 2200 or something. So they've got 800 years to fix it. All right. I think you're right that something approaching never is right. If there's no person, should the baby start around? Yeah. We don't have a never. Okay, but I think that'll do it. Okay. And we're back here. Okay, so we did all the effective date stuff. Effective start. Now, is this always less than or equal to month year? That one is different. This one I think could use effective start here. Okay, if you're an age, check this. And this is that as well. But will this... I guess the question is who... Well, let's make sure this works so far. But I think the question is who's calling this? And does it make sense to worry about tests? Ooh, it does not work. Here we are. Can start at an age. I think we may test outside the range of what we can really generate. Okay, so Bob is born in 70. We'll take a date range and Bob is 40. Well, that's a good question, isn't it? Yeah. And this also is making our tests it's making them more dependent. Like we probably ought to delete Bob at the end. Let's see if it passes first. But see, I think what we're doing is we're checking dates outside the range of now. All right, I guess that's no harm. All right, date specifier. Yeah, this is the one I want to know. I think this might be okay. But if there's a test that checks like, last year, yeah, or 7 tests that do that. Okay, let's go to Leia. Well, yeah, there you go. He's looking at January 2020, and that's just out of range for what we're talking. Okay, so Leia 37. Oh, very right there. Okay, so start. Yeah, so this one is saying a start date before yeah, it's saying a start date before the current date. And so when you ask unchanged, because this is always is to unchanged, is your value unchanged? Wait a minute. Who's asking, right? It's Leia. Oh, maybe that's this. Maybe this is okay. Where's our disabled test? Okay, let's re-enable this. Is there a teardown? There is. You have to change your declaration. I think you have to declare it as a class and go through a bunch of other stuff. We can do it at a test by test level pretty easily, or in fact, it probably is okay because every person you create ends up with a new UUID, and so you just get a bunch of independent ones. Okay. Now let's make this change. If this fixes all of them, we'll take it. Otherwise, we'll back off. Start. Oh, I never resolved this. Dates.first dot effective start. Still 7 failures. Okay, let's look at them. Although not this one. Okay, well that's good. All right, yeah, this one it's. The signed amount starting in January 2020. Well, let's do this. Who else failed? More people doing the same kind of thing. Yeah, because it's not meaningful to mix an always range with a past thing. So I think these tests are really kind of at fault in the context of that. Okay. And who are the other tests? A date range. Okay. Amount, outside, month, year. Okay, that seems reasonable. This one. So, SUT includes 2020. Right. Yeah, looking in the past for that is not good. Let's take Bob at 80, and that's 2050, so 2049.dec 2050.chan. What happens if the start date is in the past? Well, it's if the start date is in the past, I don't think that's an issue. Well, no, the issue is unchanged is interpreted relative to the start date of our application. And whether that's that coupling that I kind of worry about. But I don't have my good solution either. So because this depends on the varying date, right? So it could be the case that could that be in the past? Well, yeah, let's open our app the end of August, and now we're there tomorrow. We leave it open and we come back tomorrow. Now the current date is actually in September. So if you restarted the app, it would look different because it would start a month later. If the start date is in the past. So I don't think it's an issue for us in these tests. It's really, the question is kind of relative to we were doing these tests like 2020 is before the month year dot start. And in a real usage that doesn't happen. I don't think it's ideal. I mean, right now, what it effectively means is a date of unchanged, a start date of unchanged, is effectively the day the app started running, and that's probably fine. I mean, I'm thinking if I start using this thing and then next week I come in and I say I'm going to fill in all my my data, and like I'm just going to put, I'm going to go to my bank statement and look up like how much do you have in savings. Okay, I'm going to put that there. How much in your retirement account? Put that there. And I'm fine with that. Do the streams work with a start date in the past? Do we get a valid total? Well, I think they They should work in the past. If I think, well, like you take an income stream. Let's say you started your job 10 years ago, okay, and you've got this income stream you said started 10 years ago. We don't we don't we take the current date as the starting point for the money you get from it. We don't say, oh, you must have saved all your money for the last 10 years. So I think it's okay. It's all a little tricky, though. I'll grant you. But I think in most of these cases, well, we'll see what the other test failures are. But I think so far they've been cases where the current date is August 2024, and we're asking about past stuff versus the unspecified date. But really, the unspecified date should be back before there if you're using those. I mean, you wouldn't calculate things based on those dates. We mostly ask, are you active right now, and then go forward from this month to 30 years from now. Okay, what are these other tests? Okay, a date range 25. I thought we fixed a date range. Oh, right, that has to be after it. Starts month at 1 when unspecified. Yeah, I think I should make this like that. Or even 2020, 2200.feb is probably okay. Because his ending month was before the actual start date, it just doesn't make sense in that scenario. Okay, what else? A date range, a scenario. Well, let's complain about this one first. Okay. Relative amount of a pool. We've got a house with an arbitrary dates. Net worth. Relative amount of a stream, same deal. Okay, this one's in the past. That one might be interesting. All right, we'll see if this one still fails. Okay. So, I mean, I'm not totally happy about this, but I think the problem is, well, this has kind of an ambiguous meaning, right? In a way, we want to just say it's like forever ago to forever in the future, but it only gets interesting at a start point. And for most things, it really is just sort of unspecified, meaning just like for any range you're talking about, treated as being there. And I think that interpretation is valid. But the last date is always a little different than the first, just by interpretation too. So anyway, let's review the code on this one. Okay, so we pulled out month year, we pulled out people.shared. And so we're moving towards certain global state that we use. We defined effective start. Now, well, let's go look at that. Date specifier. Okay, so this can change to effective start less than or equal to month year. Okay, which seems like a meaningful. I mean, they should all be consistent, and that means they should all have the same code at this point. This one's different. These two cases really are different, and it's weird. Okay, so I'm gonna not try and muck with those. Everything should run. Okay. Date specifier, we looked at that. Now we calculate effective start. But we're careful. Yeah, could we just replace this with dates.first.effective start? And I'm not sure. If it's unchanged, it should be on the range you're asking. I think that's okay. All right, we shared. All right, new tests. Updating tests to make sure they run in a future, not a past. Okay. All right. Let's take a break. We'll come back. I think we're prepared to answer this question now. We can get rid of those and use the shared one. Grab global state for it and avoid passing it all over the place. We'll do that refactoring and then move on to the real-time slider stuff. Oh, yeah, we'll say we did that one. All right, see you in 3 or 4 minutes. All right, welcome back. So the question there is, we pass in people. Well, we pass it into a lot of places. And we could just grab people.shared all the time. I guess I'm going to take it out of here. So the reason we're passing it to this thing, this is the example of why the impact of using it as a parameter is we pass it all over the place, passing it down until finally it gets down to first.description. And if it's an age, it needs the people and uses it. Okay. Now the thing we just changed, we just used people.shared, and that's the change I would say is going to happen. Yeah, I guess what's going through my mind is, could we put it on the age somehow? And you just can't. I mean, the people collection, well, it does not even persisted directly. Well, it is. All its members are persisted anyway, which is kind of the same thing. They don't exist on age. Age is very independent. It just has the ID in the years. Okay, let's try it. Okay, and I'm gonna make a var. People of type people is people.shared. Okay, so at least we'll pull this into one place. So where's the one we just did? Okay. So people. Okay, so this one, we should be able to take this line out and things should still work. Okay, now the next one, this is relying on people coming in. Okay, I'm going to call this people 2. Now, this could break because we may be passing in our own people objects from the tests. So this is forcing it to use the shared one, but I bet you a bunch of tests don't use the shared one. We did fix one, but there's probably others. Yep, there's one. All right, a date spec. Okay. Right, so this did not use people.shared. Okay. All right, and now I'm going to take this out. I'm going to make this a variable because I think that's what it wants to be. Var description of string, and people is this local access to the global thing. Okay, but any callers, well, we'd have to edit them to remove the argument. So we'll just take the whole parens with it. And test, same problem. This is what I like. I mean, that's nice. The cost is high. Okay, take this off. Notice we got the shared, so that's good. We're going to find them one at a time. Okay. So we're saying make date range use shared people rather than passing it in. We're not done with the process. Okay, now this one takes people, but we don't want it to. And that should be neutral. We just have to find the callers. GEQ we haven't dealt with. And there may be tests. There should be tests. No, maybe not. They might use includes only. Okay. Now let's make this. Oh, let's change this one. So we're passing in people, but we're ignoring it, and instead we're getting the people for the shared variable. We haven't changed the interface yet. Good. Okay. 88 specifier. Right. Okay, so let's adjust the arguments. Okay. Now, date specifier, no, date range. Okay, so now we get kind of the payoff of this. Hey, there's all these people passing in people here, but nobody uses it. So let's get this out. All right, now, okay, so there's still some using it. All right, and same thing here. We don't need people anymore. And this can become a var. Callers need to deal with it. I know we have some at least in here. That's kind of interesting. Well, dates.description doesn't take people. All right, now we do use that, but not very often. I'm going to say let's put it in the tests that need it, because I think there's just a couple. Hey, Anshul XYZ. So we're working on this application that's it's basically kind of a money tracking tool for medium and long term. So maybe 5, 10, 20 years out, you're projecting like your Social Security and savings and all those kind of things. And we right at the moment we're doing a refactoring because we've been passing around a people object, and we're trying to get rid of the usages of this, not have to pass it around so much. We're okay. Are we using people here? Okay, there's signed amount of value, and we're basically working our way up, getting rid of all these things that needed the people value. Yeah, so we're using Swift testing. That's the new framework. I'm liking it. The only problem is it's not really compatible because I am not in a beta version of Xcode, so we get hit with these things sometimes. Let me just run the app once, and we haven't done that in a few minutes here, so give you some picture of what's going on. We just have a very simple scenario set up. It's just going to be one value. We're saying you have savings. They're active for basically 2 years, and they're growing based on the ROI. Well, ROI is 10%. You can see the values at like 1,200 or so. But if I increase the ROI, well, let me get dramatic, and you'll see that it jumps up way higher than 1,500 or 1,200. It's over 2,000. So we've been adding the interest rates, return on investment. I don't know what else you would do. Inflation, anything like that makes money get build on money, okay, or debt, build on debt in some cases. So you can add multiple scenarios and all kinds of other stuff, but I'm focused on improving this people thing, and I want to get back to these dates, these sliders, and I'd like to have this take up only half the page and then see it when you slide, not just when you let go. Okay, so all right, so let's see. So Leia passes in people here, and what it does with it calls amount.value, and we're trying to see who actually uses people. Okay. I think everything is clean at this point, that we can take this one out. So this is value. And he calls signed amount. Okay, let's go there. Signed amount to his people. And he calls value. So they kind of call each other. Okay. I would like to get this out. Well, what I'm going to do is we have a shared value. I'm going to default people to that. And is that going to help? I mean, I really just want to take this line out and let the compiler tell me where people are messed up. And so I've got to take out amount.value. Okay, I guess I got to take it out of both of them at the same time. But because the only use is to pass it back and forth, and then down the bottom, somebody doesn't need it anymore. Okay, so we'll take out both. Amount and value and signed amount. Okay, and the compiler should tell us scenario contains people too. Yeah, that's also I think we won't be able to get rid of scenario, but we will be able to get rid of we could probably take the people out of it. Okay. And again, I anticipate a bunch of tests. All right, they're passing in people. There's a lot of them. Computing amounts is pretty common in this app. Scenario contains people, make people shared in test. Yeah. I think. No, we're okay. So amount dot value and Leia dot signed amount. Okay. Let's just do a global people of people text. Okay, that one's okay. Possibilities. Well, it gets passed in here. And it gets passed into scenarios. Yeah, I think I think that's the case. I think we often had ones that did ignore scenarios and stuff like that, but the only reason you need people in these is because of the lower level stuff that wanted the people. So they're all getting it from shared now. So we pass it around, but nobody's probably looking at it. Now this, Okay, that's a candidate to get rid of then, because nobody's. The only reason we have it is to pass it to itself. Okay, I mean, he had it before because he needed it to do stuff. This, maybe? Well, I'm not sure what he needed it for. But let's take it out and see if things hang together. I'm clear, right? Okay. Collars should be broken. This is clearly something, I don't know. The solution is using a global, I guess I'll point out again. So we're seeing the impact of not using the global is that we were having to pass this thing everywhere, even to people we didn't need it. We passed it to others that didn't need it because eventually somebody does. Now the name is very intrinsic to the scenario, so I don't think that's ever going to go away. And I can't just generically get rid of it because there are things that still use it, just not on scenarios. Now, seeing this happen over and over sort of tells me we aren't using James Shore's pattern that says make your constructor, for your, at least for your system under test, make a helper method to do that. And we clearly haven't done that because lots of these are SUTs that don't really add any information. And we only had to change one place in the class if we'd done it that way. Back to my search. The views might need it. Amount. That's old. We get rid of those. Okay, I think we're good. Okay. Oh, what are you complaining about now? Nothing. Okay. Hey, the Schmill. So welcome. We're working on the financial app, and lately we've been trying to add interest payments in. So you can see a bit of that here. You can tell that curve is, the line bends a little bit. This is an asset. It starts with $1,000 a month, and it grows at some rate. I think it's at 33% now, but it's doing this for 2 years, and then we get rid of the asset, so it goes to zero. And the thing we did was we added a variable here, and we can control this. So at 6%, it only gets up to $1,100 or so. Okay, and to make this go along, what we just finished was we had a refactoring. We were passing around this people list all over the place because when you specify when is something active, you can do that in terms of ages. So this person is going to start taking Social Security at age 67. And to know that, to interpret that, you have to be able to find that person in the list of people and then dig out their birth date so you can compute their age. And we moved that to more of a shared object or singleton-like thing in the few places that need to calculate that date stuff. So that's the refactoring we just finished, and I don't think we have anything to check in. Okay, so the thing I don't like is, and what I want to address next, well, two things. One is this view is nice maybe, but it's obscuring the stuff we want to look at, which is the net worth calculations. That's one thing. So I'd like this half the size. And then the second thing is I'd like to see the graph moving around as I scroll the slider around. Okay, and it only does it when you let go. You can kind of see that going on in the background. So we're going to do some display work to make this more of a view that pops up only halfway. And then we're going to try and get the values recomputed as it drags. Mudshark 666 there found the incantation we have to use to make it so that it shows all updates. Let's see, I forget where it is now, on assumption view. Okay, so in here we have the slider. If you say on change of value outside of it, it updates the view, so you can see the slider drag, and we'd like to trigger the real-time updates there. If you only make, well, the reason we see this is we only put the update action in on editing change, which means when you let go. So that's why it's doing one. Maybe we can do this first. I think we just have to one change of value. And I think it's this here. And let's take this one out. Okay, run it this way. Are you a Swift programmer? Okay, so let's do assumptions. Well, I can only move it a tiny, tiny bit, which can't be right. Oh, okay. This is really unexpected behavior for me. It's only letting me adjust it one at a time. but is it changing it? That's 2300, 2200. Can I click there and get it? That curve is bending. I can see it a little bit. Yep. Okay. I don't know why. All right. If assumption current not equal into value. Well, let's just do some printing. Do I need the editing change to confirm it? Update action. I don't see why. Label arguments. Yeah. Oh, I wanted to run. I bet I'm getting a whole stream of these. Yep. So why is it? Maybe this assumption current thing. I mean, so this is performing fine now. It's not changing anything because I decoupled it up top too, but this is confusing me. I mean, it doesn't run that slowly, like to drag one at a time. And it's not even, it's not like drag, draw. I don't know. All right, I didn't hit run. Normally, I would expect the drawing to just go. And even if it was slow, it should still catch up to my pointer, but it doesn't appear to be. It's only each time through. Okay. But it's showing those values. Maybe we better look at this. Okay, who's calling this? Do we have a state for the slider, or is it redrawn with each new value? Yeah, it has a state. And I don't know if I'm... You always have to watch out with UI things, you know, when you want updates, like you're not really supposed to do stuff in the main thread if it takes too long, and maybe I'm violating that. All right, but let's see what update action is. Show the colors. Well, it's assumptions view. Update action is assumptions.replace revised assumption. What is revised assumption? Assumption current. Oh, this is a variant constructor. It basically copies the assumption but updates the current value. And that's not too slow. Update action. It calls replace. Somebody's going to trigger some activity. Yeah, this thing's observable. So, remove the assumption, add the assumption, markup was changed. So it triggers persistence. Yeah, we get a new assumption each time through. So, I mean, this part is trivial, right? We're just copying 5 fields and that's nothing. The update action goes to this and eventually calls this. It gets rid of the name, adds the assumption was changed. Right, so if assumptions is changed, then the view that relies on it is changed. Which I think, back up to the app. Okay, we access the shared assumptions. Okay. Let's look at the content view. Well, okay, I think because assumptions is an observable object, if it changes, which we're forcing it to say it changed, that affects the listeners. And so I think the content view should be triggered again. Yeah, and it, oh yes, you're right. It persists on each change. I mean, it's doing way too much work in a UI thread. I don't understand why it's slow, but I don't know if there's some, like, because it's changed, it triggers the top level view to redraw everything, which is good in a sense because we wanted to see the thing update. But then I wonder if it I think, like you were saying, the slider redrawn. I think the view might be getting redrawn, and the where my finger is trying to pull the slider, it's a new slider because it's got to refresh the whole view. I think maybe it's notoriously hard to tell on some of this. So I don't know if I can. Well, it would be nice in a way, it would be adequate, I should say, if you could drag this, see the view updates, and then when you let go, it actually triggers the replace, you know? Let me... Can I make a task out of this? I'm not quite sure how to do that. Task. This is a nice site too. Right, I create a task. Wait. Extra direct life creation. But I feel like I'm doing something wrong with this that... He's not really talking about the drawing. Right, but we would still have to persist it sometime. I mean, I don't think the cost is going to be that high. Where's assumption? Right, because he's got a handful of fields. I mean, there's a cost, but it's not a very big struct, so it's not doing so. I mean, I don't think it's a question of performance per se, because if it were, I think when I start dragging this and I held it like this, it should still be trying to drag, even if it was very, very slow. But maybe it's not. If it's never... I'm not sure how to do this right, per se. I feel like somehow I need to spin off a separate task to do that replace, and then it could kick that off and then move to the next position. I don't think assumption is the problem. I think the problem is assumption view. Right, because this is a redraw the system kind of thing. I mean, if I put it in a await, it's still blocking this thread. I mean, really, it's like you used to call dispatch queue. If it's replaced, the drag action is probably ended. Well, I haven't tried calling both, but I don't see that that's what's the problem, because it's struggling on this. Maybe I can... Let me run it that way. I think it's going to have trouble getting to this line. Okay, it drags one slot. It appears to be stuck. It's not stuck, but it is. Let me get these on the same... same screen. No, where am I? Okay, I'm at 35. Huh. System gesture gate timed out. Yeah, I mean that gate timed out thing makes me think I'm doing that off. I don't think the editing changed comes in. Okay. Let me see if I'm getting any hacking with Swift ones on here, because he's usually got a good perspective. I can't believe I didn't trigger one of his. He's always got something handy. I mean, dispatch queue, yeah. And this is the kind of stuff you used to do more of. Async run background. If let completion equals completion. Deadline completion. Well, that's kind of... Okay, this is more like it. Right, you do that, but... do we need copies of the assumptions to work on? That doesn't change with the assumptions array. Right. Well, the thing is, like, when you draw... When you change the assumption value, it's got to recompute and redraw that picture. Up till now, it's done that on release, but to my eye, I mean, I'm going to put this one back in and turn off the other one. Okay, this is kind of how we start. Now, I don't know if we're getting that timeout thing. I haven't paid attention to that. All right, but it drags, it updates those values, and then now, I mean, it's visible, but it's not that slow. You know, it's 1/10 of a second or something. Yeah, if assumptions were classes, we'd only change the current value. But, I mean, the real thing is that its assumptions are observable, right? So the mechanism for the view mechanisms know that they're monitoring that object. And basically, I don't think they're that sophisticated. I think when they detect a change of assumptions, they just rerun the graph calculation. Now, I mean, if this thing were ticking along, tick, 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 or tick, 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 you know, I would say it's, you know, it's feeling the performance, but when it only does one redraw, yeah, we could not persist until edit changed. Right. I mean, we would, well, it's kind of competing views, I think. Let me split this up again if I can. I can't. All right, I'll minimize it. So I think what we're seeing is assumptions. When you call replace with this new assumption, it takes out the old one by that name. It adds the new one. All right, the content view. Whoops, I just saw it. Is dependent on assumptions. It brings it in bindable. All right, and then when it detects a change in any of these objects that it listens to, it starts redrawing things, and you know, it kind of, well, it tells each view, here's these things have changed, you know, do your stuff, and they generally redraw. Now, and then at the bottom here, if there's a change, so when it detects a change, it saves it, which I think is good. We've pushed it up to the very top level, and nobody else is dealing with persistence, right? They just have to be sure that if they change something, that they mark it changed somehow and in a detectable way. And we're monitoring the was change, so we know, like, oh, this is a store or save worthy change. Okay, well, yeah, sleep on it. Yeah, I mean, I think something's going on about the redraw cycle and how I'm doing that, and that I'm trying to do something that affects it. It both affects it, redraws it, and then almost like it would affect it again, but it doesn't want to redraw it until I've finished the one cycle. But we'll start there tomorrow, 2 to 4:30 Eastern time, or 6 to 8:30 p.m. UTC. And thanks for joining Mudshark, and welcome to the other new subscribers. It was Shamil and what was the other name? Anshul XYZ. All right, so take care all. Catch you another time. Bye-bye.